do that now. Here we go. So I was going to go through Sales Navigator and show you a few ways that you can find your target audience on LinkedIn. And then I think what we'll do after that is we'll open it up to any kind of questions at all. So I'm going to jump straight through. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go into LinkedIn. And as I said, if you do have any questions at all, please ask the question. If you're happy to wait afterwards, and that's fine as well. Okay, right, so let's go into LinkedIn. So as you probably know, Sales Navigator is one of the paid options with LinkedIn. So if you want to look for your target audience using just this standard version of LinkedIn, what you have to do is you have to put in a search term. Let's say, for instance, founder of a company. And what will happen is it will bring up, excuse me, a huge number of options, and it will show you people with that particular word, groups, companies, etc. So if you're looking to find a founder of a company, you have some very limited options with the free version of LinkedIn. So it will let you know if they're first, second, or third level connection. It lets you find people by geography to a certain level. And it will also show you people, something that you probably wouldn't see straight off the bat is that the first few entries will be people who currently have that title. But as you scroll further down the list, what you're going to find is it's only going to be people who have the word founder in their profile somewhere. So by using Sales Navigator, we can go straight to the chase of actually finding people who have that current job title. So let's just start off with some brief basics on Sales Navigator. When you go into Sales Navigator, it gives you two main search options. Lead filters allows you to find people that fit a certain criteria. Account filters helps you to find companies that fit a certain criteria. So let's look for, let's say, people. So let's create a search. So if we're looking for a target audience where we are looking for founders of companies, we can go straight to current job title. Now, one of the little hacks, or one of the things that's very helpful is most of the time people will just type in the job title. And what will happen is it will bring up founder, co-founder, associate founder. So they'll normally pick on here, they'll include certain job titles. The difficulty that you have, if you have a job title, say like marketing director, what's going to happen is it's going to find everybody who has the word marketing in their title and everybody who has the word director in their title. So the difficulty there is that you won't get a very targeted search. You're going to get people who fit one of the two criteria. So the way to solve that is when you put any job title or any search within Sales Navigator, you put into something called a Boolean search, which is basically the same format you would use for Google. If you put your job title or the phrase or even the single word into double quotes and press enter, that will bring up everybody where the job title contains marketing director. So straight away, we've got a much more targeted search. We're only going to find people who have that job title or who have that job title within their title somehow. Okay, so typically the kinds of things you can do with a search, you can find companies of a certain size, which is quite helpful. So let's just click on here. So for instance, if we're interested in companies of 51 to 200 staff, but we're also interested in companies of 11 to 50 staff, you can filter through on that basis, okay? What you can also do, if you are looking for people within a certain geography area, that's also fairly easy to do as well. So if you click on the geography field, not only can you specify a town or a city, so you can specify fairly small towns or cities. There's a town near me called Haywards Heath, which is fairly small. So that will come up in search. You can specify towns, cities, but the other thing that's very helpful is you can specify a postcode radius. That is particularly helpful if you want to go out and see your prospects. So for instance, if we put in a postcode, and I'm going to put in my postcode here, and this will show everybody within a 5-mile radius of my postcode. So if I want more people, I just increase the postcode radius here. Okay, so we've now got 232 people who fit that bill at the moment. Okay, so those are some simple ways forward. You can specify industries, so you can specify either people who work within a certain industry, or you can exclude people. So for instance, if I don't want to contact anybody in this industry, I can just click on exclude here. Okay, so that will now reduce the search slightly, taking out everybody who works in that sector. Similarly, you can do a similar thing with job titles. So for instance, if you look through this list of job titles, let's say that you want marketing directors, but you don't want anybody with the word global in their title. You can exclude either job titles, industries, and that kind of thing by typing in the particular word that you want to exclude in the format that I've mentioned, so double quotes. And then if you hover over, it gives you this little circle. If I now click on it, that will turn pink, and that will exclude anybody with the word global in the job title. So my search has lost 6 people. That's got rid of the people who had global in their job title. Okay, so I'll just show you one more thing you can do with searches, because hopefully it's fairly clear. I've just gone through the common filters people use. Now, the other thing that you may want to do, you may want to search for people who have a certain word or phrase in their profile. So if we look here, this will bring up people who have marketing director as a job title. But if we want to find anybody of these people who has the word marketing, let's say, anywhere in their profile, you would just type in marketing in double quotes, but into the keywords field. So if we now focus here, this will go back through the list and it will find everybody, which is everybody here, who has the word marketing in their job title. Okay, sorry, in their profile, not just their job title. What you can also do is you can exclude anybody. So if we want anybody with the word marketing, but we don't want someone with the word sales, you would use this format. You would use not in capitals, and then you would exclude the word that you don't want. So what this will do, this will go through the list, and this will find everybody who does have the word marketing, but doesn't have the word sales. So that's kind of reduced this search down quite drastically. Okay, so that's kind of broadly how to do searches for your audience based upon people. So what I found is if you can really hone in on who your target audience is properly and really, really well, it just saves you effort contacting people who aren't going to be interested at all. So what I would typically do, I would go through this list, come up with a search, and then I would just check the first page or the first 2 pages just to see if there's anybody that looks like they shouldn't be there. So if I just go through this page, I'm going to look and I'm going to find people. Okay, so let's say, for instance, I don't want anybody with the word brand in their job title. I can then go back in here. I can type in the word brand, press enter, and then if I hover over it, I can exclude anybody. So now I've got a really, really targeted list of people here. And if you have a fairly big audience, so for instance, you are after business owners, for instance, within the UK or America or something like that, it is helpful to start with your postcode or your zip code and to then work out, because what that will do, that will first of all help you to contact people that you can physically go to see, but it also builds confidence because we all instinctively trust people who are based closer to us. We kind of feel more kind of likely trust them, confident if they're close to us. So starting off with your postcode and working out is, I think personally, the best way to get started. Right, so once we've got a search here, we can then save this search. The way you save the search is you click on this little toggle here, save search to get notified of new results. And what that will do is that will bring up a little managed saved searches box here. So that now shows the search that's been saved. You can either keep it with the current name, or you can change the name of it. So I'm going to change the name of that. I'm just going to call it my postcode RH5 plus 25 miles. So if I want to go back into that search again, all I have to do is go to saved searches here. And that will then give me the option to choose that search. So Sales Navigator allows you to save. So here, for instance, I could go back into that search. Sales Navigator allows you to save up to 50 searches. So you can get quite detailed in the kinds of people you want to talk to. Yeah, okay, so that's how to create a search based upon your target audience people. I'm going to show you now how to create a search based upon companies. So what we'll do here, if you select account filters, what we can do is we can say, right, for instance, let's find a company who's got a headquarters location in London, let's say. Okay, and let's also find a company within a certain industry. So what we're going to do here is we will look for companies within a certain industry. So I'm just going to pick one from random. So I'm going to select companies in the financial services sector. So straight away, this will bring up a list of 75,000 companies based in London that are in that sector. So I'm going to reduce this down a bit. I'm only going to ask for companies with 51 to 200 staff. Okay, so this will then bring up a list of 1,000 plus companies, London area. And I'm also going to ask it just to give us companies that are growing. So we're going to ask for companies between 5 and 50% headcount growth. So this kind of suggests these are companies that are growing. Okay, so we've now come up with a list of 510 companies that are growing. So how do we find the relevant people who work for those companies? Here's how to do it. So the first thing is we can save this search in the same way that we did with the other search, where you just click the toggle and then you specify the name of the company. I'm just going to call it FS London. Oops. And this will also let you save up to 50. So you can see from this toggle here, you've got your account searches, which are company-based searches, and you've got your lead searches, which are people-based searches. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to look for founders of these companies. So here's how to do that. So on the listing here, if you click on this button here, that will select everybody on the first page. Okay, so that's going to select the first 25 companies on this page. So what we can now do is we can save these companies to a list. So I'm going to create a new list, and I'm going to call it FS London. Okay, so what will happen now is you'll notice all these companies will be added to that list. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the process for the second page. So we'll have a list of not everybody, but we'll have just the first 2 pages of this. Okay, so I'm just going to go in here, click on select all. When it comes up, click save to list. And then I'm going to add them to the list that we've just created. Okay, so if we wanted to go through this, we could add all these companies to that list. So, okay, so I'm going to go back to home now, and I'm going to say, right, let's create a search, but I only want to speak to founders of the companies that we've looked at. Okay, so if I go back to lead filters here, where we're looking for people, I will just fill out the details that we had previously. So we're going to look for founders of these companies. And okay, now here is where we can do this. So this section here, account lists, should give us the option to select the list that we've just created. Okay, here it is here, FS London. So what this will do, this will find founders who only work for the 50 companies that we've looked at. So we've got 377 people who come up. So we've been able to target the people. So these people are already pre-qualified from the previous list. They're pre-qualified because they're based in London. They're pre-qualified because their company's growing, and they're pre-qualified because of their company size. So literally, we can just specify here and say, right, pull in all the founders from these companies. So that gives us this list here. So if we save that list, same kind of process as we did before. We can now save that list. And what you'll see as well is the more companies we save to this list, the more it will filter through. So for instance, if we save the next 50 companies on this list, it will increase the people here. So all we have to do is to add more people to this list. Well, we don't need to do anything here, and this search will automatically populate with more people. Okay, hope you found that helpful. So, okay, I've just got a little bit of a kind of checklist here. Okay, something else that you can do that might be helpful is in terms of finding companies. One of the very, very useful fields is you can find companies based upon technologies they use. So for instance, let's say that you have a product or service that will only work with HubSpot users, for instance. So your product or service works with HubSpot. It could be Microsoft, could be anything really. But what you can do is using this field here, it will allow you to find companies that use HubSpot. So this will then bring up a whole list of companies worldwide on LinkedIn who use HubSpot. So if you follow the same process that we looked at before, and you say, right, we only want companies based in a certain area with a certain headcount, blah, 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 we can then come up with a list of companies here, and then we can effectively only contact the relevant people who work for those companies. So that's like gold if you have a product or a service that works with a particular technology or a particular operating system. And as you can see, there's just loads and loads of different options here in terms of platforms and systems people would use for their companies. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple more things, and then I'm going to open it up for questions or anything that you might have that you want to ask. So, okay, so the next thing to do is I'm going to show you how to find companies like companies that you know. So what you might find is you might be looking to contact people who work for companies with a similar profile to your existing clients. Here's how to find these people. So what you would do is you would put the name of one of your current clients in here. So I'm not going to put an actual client here, but I'm going to, for instance, I'm going to choose Sainsbury's. So let's say that I'm looking for companies like Sainsbury's. So for instance, client of Sainsbury's, I'd like to find more companies like Sainsbury's to actually contact these people. So here, for instance, what will happen is that it will bring up Sainsbury's company page on LinkedIn. When you're on the company page, this little button here, Insights, will show you a list of companies like Sainsbury's. So straight away, it's possible to build a list of companies like your current companies. And this is generally quite accurate. So for instance, if I want to create a search here, for instance, I can just say, right, create new list. And I'm going to go for companies like Sainsbury's. Just bear with me for a sec. For some reason, here we go. Create new list. If I just put companies like Sainsbury's, oops, I can spell, of course. And then I can add the relevant companies to that list. So for instance, I might add Asda to that list. So that will give me the option to do that. Companies like Sainsbury's, Tesco's, etc., etc. So pretty quickly, you can build up a list of many, many companies. So you can go through the page here, and you can add all of the others here as well. So as you can see, most of the companies listed are similar to Sainsbury's. So it's quite accurate in terms of who it actually contacts. So when you've gone through that list, what you would then do is you say, right, okay, I know M&S on my list. I'm just going to repeat the process here and find companies like M&S and see if that brings up more people that I haven't thought of. So if we go through the process again, it will often bring up companies that we haven't had previously on that list. So for instance, I don't think Boots came up before, ASOS didn't either. So what you can do is you can then build your list of companies, and then using the lead filter option here, you can then find the relevant people who work within those companies. So Sales Nav can be very, very targeted. Okay, so I'm just going to show you one last thing, and then I'm going to open it up to questions, and then I was just going to show you how to use Sales Navigator to actually track people. So the final thing is, when we're searching for people, what we normally do is we base it upon job titles we think they should have. Okay, so for instance, let me just go in and we'll put in a job title. So let's put sales manager. Okay, so let's say that we're looking for sales managers in companies. Say we just create a little search here. Okay, so we're looking for sales managers, companies 11 to 50 staff, and we'll keep it fairly small. So we'll just go for companies based in Brighton. I'll just type in Brighton, give me the option, Brighton, England, that's it. Okay, so what we've done here, we've assumed these companies will use this job title, okay? And that will then bring up a list of people for us to talk to. So the chances are that these companies might also use other job titles that we haven't thought of. So how do we find what job titles these companies use in order to add them to the search here? So here's how to do it. So if we have this list and you go to the first company and you open up the company page, so you just open it into a new tab, and what that will do is that will give us the option to go to that company's page, and then we can look at everybody who works for that particular company. Bear with me for a second. So this company here, it comes up and it shows that 14 people work for that company. So if I look on here, if you click on all employees, it will now show everybody who works for that company. So these are the actual job titles that this company has. So you can do one of two things. You can either look through and say, well, hang on a sec, this lady's head of sales. I think we should be contacting those people as well. So that's one way, is to kind of manually go through and find the titles. The other way to do it is just literally within this company page, just type in the word sales, and that will bring up everybody who has the word sales in their title. So we've got a sales manager, and we've got head of sales, and we've got a graduate sales executive. So what we might want to do then is just say, well, okay, let's also look for head of sales. So now we'll get more people coming back from the search than we had previously. So that will increase the numbers of people there. So if you kind of repeat this process for maybe the first 4 or 5 companies, so I'm going to do it with this company again as well. What that will do is that will show you what other companies call themselves rather than what we think they should call themselves. So we've gone into this company here. It's got 18 staff. Now this will show everybody who works for that company who's on LinkedIn. And what we'll do if we type in the word sales in here, press enter, that will show us everybody who has slightly different job title here. So okay, so here, so this company doesn't seem to throw anybody else up. That would be the case. We'll just do one last company here. So we go for these guys here. Just see what happens. So so what we're doing is we're finding additional people who fit your target audience that wouldn't necessarily come up if you just do the kind of standard search. So for instance, with this company, there's 26 people working for the company. This now shows us all those people. Type in sales. What that'll do is that will show us everybody who has certain titles. So we've got the sales manager. In fact, we've got 2 different sales managers, and we've got various other job titles. Okay, we've got regional sales manager, which will come up anyway. Okay, so this one doesn't actually bring up any more people. What we might want to consider is the fact that it does bring up business development director, COO. Do we want to add those titles also? Okay, so that's how to add people based upon certain job titles. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop talking for now, and I'm going to take everybody off mute. And if there's any questions, that'd be helpful. So let me just do that now. Okay. Okay. So if there's any questions, if you want to let me know. If there's not, I can carry on talking for a bit longer. Okay, any questions? No. Okay.
Hi, Dean. Hello. Sorry, yes, I've got a quick question actually, if that's all right.
Steve, yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was a really helpful run through. Already learned a lot of stuff that I didn't already know. Mm-hmm. I've had a problem with, and you've probably sort of answered this actually, but what I'm looking for is, I'll give you the specific example. I'm looking for accountants. Okay. I actually want to find accountancy firms. And what I've done is in Sales Navigator, when I've searched under the industry for finance or accounts, it's still bringing up people who are accountants in a different company. So they might be accounts manager for an IT company or accounts manager for a retail company, but I only want to target accountants. So
I understand.
How would you recommend to do that? Would the way you showed with doing it at the account level and then look for the people afterwards?
So I would do 2 different options. So the first one is if we go into account filters here, what we can do is we can either specify the sector. So did you say that you tried that, but that didn't actually bring up the right people? So
I did it under industry, which was weird because I thought it wouldn't show anyone else. Outside of that industry,
that does kind of cross over, doesn't it? Because if you're an accountant who works for a vehicle hire company, then you're in 2 different industries. Okay, so that doesn't work particularly well. So okay, do you have an example of a company name that you would want to target?
So say for instance, Smith Newmans.
Okay. So if we type in there, here we are, name here. So what we can do is we can start to build a list based upon that. So, okay, so this company fits the bill. So what you would do is you would save that company and you would create a new list. It says, just get at the bottom of it and create a new list. Sorry, so here we go, create new list. So if we call it accountants, okay. So that's the first thing. We would add those to the list. Then if you select here, insights, you can build the list gradually. So what you do is you have a look, although it's very strange. I'm not quite sure why it's coming up with these guys. Okay, fair enough. It should be bringing up, that's why I haven't actually pressed the right button, I don't think. Insights, okay. For some reason, that's a really bad example of how that's working. That should be bringing up different companies similar to the Newmans. So what I would do, I would either, if you've got any other companies, I would do that. Or what I would do is I would just go into Google. I would just perhaps type in list of accountants UK. And then what will happen is that will then show you, here we go, for instance, a bunch of companies. And then what you would then do is you would then build a list based upon these companies. So it's, you know, slightly longer process, but you will get the right people. So for instance, we're just going here. I'm guessing this will bring up companies like Price, Portable, Waterhouse, etc. So yeah, so I would actually do that. I would bring up the companies based upon company names. Usually speaking, what you will find, I'm not quite sure why that company hasn't actually brought up anything, but if we put in something like Price Waterhouse, for instance, this should bring up lots more companies like them because they're bigger. So let's just save those to the list, and then we'll see what they bring up. So come on. Oh my gosh, it's going slow for some reason. Okay, that will save to the list at some point, but what we'll find here, this will hopefully bring up the right kind of companies. Are these the kind of companies that you're after, or the smaller versions of this?
Yeah, exactly. The right industry may be a bit too big, but
Too big, yeah.
I can obviously see the process is
okay. So
exactly
you can see the process here, and then you would add all these companies here, and then once you've added them all, then you would go back in to say, right, now find me companies like these guys, Deloitte, and then that will build the list gradually. Okay, so that's the second way to do it. The third way to do it would be go back to the filters here, and perhaps kind of start off with companies of a certain size. Do you have any particular company size that you're looking at, or any particular geography?
You'd probably say 10 to 200. So
Okay.
So the 11 to 50 and the 51 to 200.
Right. Okay, that's fair enough. And are they UK based? Are they localized?
Yeah, if you say, well, for now, say UK as an example.
Okay, so if we say UK. Okay, so what I would then do, now that we've brought up a list of companies, instead of choosing industry, what I would do is I would put accountancy as, if you like, a search term within the keywords. So this will hopefully bring up companies that have that word in their company page. Okay, so we've got 1,500. Do some of these look like the right kind of companies? Obviously, some of them
they do. Yeah, they do.
So you can literally pull out the ones that are relevant, add them to a different list, and then find the people who work for those companies. So you can do that. The other thing you can do, you can add multiples to this. So for instance, if we want to say accountancy or accountants, you would use the word or in capital letters. That's the kind of the format of it. So then you do it again, and then that will bring up both options. That will bring up sort of both those as well. Because as you say, the industry is quite tricky sometimes, because if you're an IT guy who works for a bank, do you work in IT or do you work in banking? Well, you kind of work in both. Exactly. So this is how to actually filter out those people properly. Okay. Brilliant.
That's great. That's really helpful.
That's okay. Good to hear. Cool. Okay. All right. So what I was going to do, I was just going to carry on for a few minutes more and just kind of show you how to make contact with these people, what the kind of best way to actually do this is. Okay. So I'll probably talk for another 5-10 minutes and then we'll just finish it. Okay. So if we go back to this search that we've got, so we'll go to the last search that we had. How do we actually start to engage with these people? So if we go back to the Founders London list, how do we start to contact these people? Because most of these people are not going to be in my network. So they're normally going to be second or third level people, which means I can't contact these people directly. So how do we contact these people? So there's 3 ways to do it. I'm just going to go through the 2 stronger ways to do this, just because the third way's you can do it, but the value of the first and second ways is much better. So through Sales Navigator, you can invite people to join your network. So if you select here, you can either send them a blank invitation, or you can personalize it. Now, the value is here that you can actually send a link in the invitation. So if you wanted to say to this guy, hi there, Jamie, you know, I've just written this article about X, click here to read it. You can actually direct these people towards any link that you've got. Now that works well if they can understand your offer very clearly. That could work quite well. If you need sort of time to educate them as to how you can help them, probably isn't the ideal way forward. But what you can do is you can either send a blank invite, or you can send it as a message with or without a link in it. The second way to contact people is you can send them an email. Now, with LinkedIn, sorry, with Sales Navigator, an email is a direct message that you can send to somebody. So if I want to contact this chap here, I can send up to 50 messages a month. The reason mine says 150 is that you can carry forward credits from previous months up to 3 months. So as you can see, I haven't used paid emails for up to 3 months. So I can send, if you like, a paid email to up to 150 people. So you just put in the subject and send the message. Now, here's where the kind of magic happens, because so something LinkedIn doesn't kind of broadcast is the fact that if the other person is also a premium user, so that means they've got this little premium symbol here, normally, if you select to do that, and it's not doing it to prove me wrong, let's try it with a different person. Normally, what will happen, it will say open profile. So you can send the same email, but you can do it for free. Because you're a premium user, because they're a premium user, LinkedIn won't actually charge you for this. And you can do it up to 800 times a month. So what I often do is, if I want to contact people and just send them a sort of a more kind of detailed message, you would just go through the list. You'd find all of the premium users. You just tag them, for instance. Then you would save a separate list. So you put save to list. Let's call them premium users. And then if you contact just those people, and the way that you just filter out those people is that you create a lead list again, and you just say, right, we want everybody who's on that list. So we're just going to click on lead filters here, lead lists. We want everybody who's on the premium list. So I think it was this one, wasn't it? Yeah. So that will bring up all of those names, and then you can just send them a direct message straight here. So that means you can contact effectively up to 850 people per month via email. Plus, you can invite people to join your network also. So, okay, so one final thing I was going to mention was how to actually track your progress, if you like. So what can be quite helpful is when you are contacting people, it's helpful sometimes to be able to effectively assign a value to somebody. So let's say, for instance, we've contacted this guy and you sent him a message and you've got a meeting booked, for instance. What you can do, you can save to list, and you can create a list that says meeting booked. So then you can then start to effectively filter out the people that you've got meetings booked with, the people you've got sales calls with, the people that are potential leads for the future. You can then start to filter out people. The other thing you can do, if you click on the guy's profile, you can add notes to their profile. So they're notes that you'll see, but they won't see. The way that you do that is when it brings up the profile, which is not quite there yet. Let me see. There is a way. Add note. If you click on here, that will let you sort of like meeting booked 5th of August, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. So then you've got more kind of detailed stuff for each client. So you're effectively using Sales Navigator as a fairly basic CRM system. So yeah, so okay, so that's me kind of done. That's some thoughts on how to use Sales Navigator. hope you found it helpful. It looks like it's just you now, Steve. So, is there any questions or anything at all that's kind of come up from that?
Yeah, like I said before, that was really helpful. I'm pretty much fairly new to Sales Navigator. I'm not a heavy user of it, so it's really good to get a sort of better understanding. Let's see if I can stick my camera on. It's not working.
It's all right. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it was really helpful. One question I did have was the difference between a saved search and a lead list.
Yeah,
I get those two confused.
Yes. Okay. Right. Let's just go into that very quickly. Let me just show my screen again. Difference between a saved search and a lead list. Okay. So just share. So there we go. Right. So the difference is. Let's move this out of the way. Let's go back into. Okay. So if you create a lead list, you will be creating a list of people here. Okay. So this is, so here, for instance, you have people added to these lists there. So these are effectively, when we've gone through and we've effectively tagged people, these are the lists that they get added to. So the saved search is the starting point. So for instance, if we go back to this search here, the founders list, that's the saved search. That's where you go into creating the list based upon the different criteria that we looked at. Okay. If you subsequently, if you like, add a value to people, so you're adding people to a list here. So effectively, we're going to subdivide this out into meetings booked, leads, contacts, message, etc. You can then access those sublists here. Okay. So for instance, if we look through, so if we look at what we did, I think we added some people to a list here. That list will then come up here. Okay. Let me just find. So for instance, we created this list of premium users. That list is now here. So I don't tend to use this very often because I tend to, instead of coming here to contact the people, I would create a search and say, right, only find people from that list. But it gives you both options. So you probably wouldn't be using this as frequently as you'd be using the saved searches. Okay. Yeah, all makes sense?
Yeah, that's fine. No, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I'm the same. I've mostly used saved searches and I don't use lead lists very much, but it's good to know that I can kind of, if I've got my saved search, I can then add the people from that into sort of smaller categories as well if I need to.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, brilliant. Okay, hope you found it helpful. I will kind of send out the video afterwards. If there's any questions or anything, you got the details.